Here we go for another live for the 3 ways with Glenn and Sandy. So happy to see you, friends. I'm in Rio, super happy for this adventure. We are here to celebrate love, but also to explore the beautiful hidden side of Brazil, Rio, which is of course full of wilderness, but also full of poverty. And the contrast is quite incredible. Ciao Sandy!
Hello, hello.
Hello,
Ciao guys!
you two.
How are you guys?
Another Thursday to kick some booty and share some stuff.
So big topic today, I must say.
Yes, well, first, the light behind you, Francesca, it's like it's a totally different scene. It all glows. It's really nice.
Yeah, it's an hotel which is in the center of Rio, but we are trying to explore as much as possible because there is so much to see and to feel. So humid, guys, you can't imagine.
So when you post pictures, it's often of you being the most beautiful bird in the forest. But Brazil has so many beautiful birds. I follow them on Instagram. So I'm making a request. Even if you don't post it on Instagram, will you send me pictures of pretty birds?
Well, if I can catch them with my camera, yes.
Okay.
Sandy.
All right, because that's my one wish. That's my, and you too, you and the birds.
Well, you cannot use much the phone because apparently it's very dangerous. There is a lot of course, poverty, so you cannot truly take pictures when there are many people around you. So it is going to be more about when I can take pictures or videos. So today we are going to the favelas with this guide to see how they support people in need in the favelas. It's very dangerous, but I love a bit of danger when I travel. So we are going to go there and we are going to see how they interact with them. It is a totally different, scenario from the city, the favelas. Like, it's impressive, so it's going to be interesting. I cannot film it. I wish I could, but yeah.
Right. So you know what the tiles are? Or they have a few different brands. Like you can put it in your wallet, say. So if somebody steals your wallet, you could sort of follow where it went, unless they find it, right? You know, it's like right, because you can connect it to your phone. So I'm wondering, maybe you can take, if you're not going to take your phone, like stick a tile in your underwear. So even if you get pickpocketed, like we'll be able to find you.
Yeah. Also, yeah, I can hide it somewhere and then film from here. Yes.
I keep those in my suitcases, So if your suitcase ever gets lost, you can GPS it.
Do you really?
Yeah,
Oh.
I do.
It's too much work.
Yeah, I found my son's keys. We found my son's keys like 4 times.
No. Okay. Super cool, guys, and we can have an adventure together once, because when I went to Greece last summer, I had these sessions, random sessions with people. It's nice, I believe, if you love working with people, like I love working with you, to have an adventure where you test the method of your expertise. So that's what I'm going to do in Rio, of course, also alone, but it would be nice to do it together.
I think we have an adventure where we test our expertise with each other every single time.
We will. Exactly.
This ain't it. I don't know what it is, but it's crazy that the 3 of us have never met in person. So I just want a big squeeze. Just want a big and a sniff, a squeeze and a sniff.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'll happen. So, all right. So you are traveling in Rio, Sandy. How are you? What happened in this last week?
Wait. What's last week?
What's happened in your last week of life?
I don't know. Over 50, it just goes. You do it and it just goes. I have no idea. I don't know.
Every week is a giant blur.
I'm working on my app. Mm-hmm. So you have
amazing.
Yeah, you have an app. It's similar, different. Like people would want to have both. So they don't have to choose between us, right? So Glenn has an app that has I don't know how many hypnosis sessions do you have on your app at this point?
115 now at this point.
That's so cool. And it's called the Hypno Vault. So Glenn's is already available and Glenn is amazing. So get the Hypno Vault. I'm working on mine. I want a minimum of 100 hypnosises, but I'm doing it differently. Mine's a choose your own adventure.
Yeah. Amazing.
So I tested it out with somebody the other day. I said, pick a topic, any topic. It could be weight loss or public speaking or, fear of flying. And she said, I just want general relaxation. I said, great, general relaxation. And how long do you want it to be? You can do under 5 minutes. You can do 11 minutes, 20, 30, 40. And she said, relaxation under 5. And I pulled up on my phone. I go, boom, there you go. Right. So you can mix and match you know what an induction means, right, Francesca?
Yes.
An induction is how you get into hypnosis.
How you get into the trance, and
We
there are many
okay.
ways.
So an induction, we're back. This
Okay.
might be my internet, so I'm going to start the sentence over again. How you get into hypnosis is called an induction. Many ways of doing that. You can relax parts of your body, you can count, you can breathe. So one of my inductions is a 5-minute, oh my God, foot massage induction, right? So you can choose from a bunch of inductions, and then you can choose the meat and potatoes, what you want to work on, right? So it's a choose your own adventure, and you can have music or no music. So thank you for asking. That's what I've been spending my
Last time, guys, I have to tell you this little trick joke. I was doing this dinner for 5 with my hypnotic skills. And instead of, so I was basically giving them a vision of something that wasn't, like a smell, to see the reaction, to see if my voice was more powerful than the actual truth. And basically, so I told them, you're going to smell this amazing smell, blindfolded. It was a terrible smell. And because I said it very clear, that was an amazing smell, they were like, they were, of course, taking time to
You like put poop in someone's face and said you're going to love this?
I'm not going to tell you what was inside because it is disgusting. But
So now you have to tell us, was it poop or worse? What was it?
no, because I love fishing. When I was young, I used to fish. So there is this compost that you use to attract fish. It's disgusting. And I mixed it with a bit of vinegar and a bit of rice vinegar. So it was you know, tricky, but that's how you truly test the senses of people, because it's too easy, you know, for this food hypnosis to bring them there with what they see. They also have to get into the senses. And so that's how they get into it.
Yeah, I use that hypnotic technique when I really, really, really want a Diet Coke, but instead I buy the lemon bubble water that has no chemicals in it.
Yeah.
You know? And in my mind, I just think Coke. And you'd be surprised how much better it tastes when you, yeah.
Yeah. They also say this to poor people when they eat McDonald's. A shaman once told me, the energy you put into something changes the flavor and the actual result in your stomach, as everything is in life. So if you give good energy to what you're eating, even though it's shitty food, it's going to be absorbed in a nice way to your body, because the mind is so powerful.
Yeah, you want to hear a scientific research study they did on this? They've done many like it. So if you take a molecule of water and you look at it, you know how it kind of looks like a beautiful snowflake, right? And because this is about sending love to the water, or they've done experiments where you send love to the plants and the plants grow better and things like that, because love is an energy wave vibration that's measurable like a radio wave. Okay, so the water looks pretty when you're sending love to the water. Take the same water and put it in a microwave and it comes out and it's all mangled. The molecules look all mangled like elbows, right?
Yeah.
But Einstein said that energy cannot be created nor destroyed. So when you resend love to the mangled up microwaved water, it turns back to the pretty snowflake shaped molecules. So this is sort of what it's really, I think, Francesca, this explains how you date stinky guys.
Well, love, because change is deeply, I believe, related to manipulation, and love, because you're talking about love, is an example, dear Sandy. I believe change within the realms of love can't happen if there is manipulation underneath, and even if it is said that the intention is good, if the action is bad, the result will never be as the intention was expecting it to be. Like a mother, you know, beating her child with a good intention to make him educated, to give education. At the end, the reaction will always be disappointing, because it's not enough the intention. The action must be aligned with the intention. So I totally agree with this. If you destroy the energy, it goes back to the primal state. It actually becomes worse, mostly for someone that is so sensitive, like a child. So it is a pure example of how do you expect change if the society, your love, manipulates you. So that's why we end up following a change that is surrounding us and we follow the flow, but it's not active change, it's passive change. So we adapt, as we all do, human beings, and we follow change that is not our change because of this manipulation that is deeply rooted in society, in love connections, in love relationships. So in that case, we just have to say stop and get far from the situation that is hurting. Even for a child, will never go to his mom telling her, "Ah, mommy, you're right, I'm sorry," because the child in this case is right. The intention is not enough.
100%. You're talking about split energy. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah, and the good news is, though, no matter how much we got screwed up by our parents saying yes ma'am, no ma'am, whatever, but inside you don't believe it as a child, right? No matter how much we got screwed up, just like with the water, with the right pure focus, intention, meditation, hypnosis, we can realign and become snowflakes again.
Beautiful. This example of water is very powerful, guys. There is a documentary, about this.
Many mixed examples of love from our parents and from, especially in this world, about incongruent messages of love and what it is like to be cared for and to care for someone. Do you know the microwave water plant thing?
Mm-hmm.
If you take a cup of water and you boil it in the microwave and you let it sit out at the room and get back to room temperature and you water a plant with it, the plant completely falls over and dies. It comes back to life a little later. Instantly, all of the leaves wilt. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen.
It makes you want to be kosher, right? Because that's the idea of kosher. They bless the animals. They supposedly treat.
Want to get away from the microwave? Try it with your kids. Do the experiment. Boil it, let it sit out,
and then feed it to your kids and watch them fall over.
Water your plant. Watch your kids. Feed it to your kids, and then water your plant. And
Totally. And so,
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But it also shows you the power of really aligning, of true intention. You know, when we go to our religion. The religion says love everybody, but don't be gay.
Exactly. Like being open-minded, but don't accept everything. Being too diplomatic, I believe, is truly wrong because you don't stand for your ideas. Of course, in certain scenarios, like in politics, we must be diplomatic to keep the peace. But in general, in your daily life, you shouldn't, because being open-minded doesn't mean agreeing with everyone or losing your point of view or losing your standing for yourself. So being open-minded means accepting but not absorbing information you don't agree with. So it's very important to stand for yourself anytime, anywhere you are.
Yes, and when we want change in the moment, when we spend any of our energy trying to change the other person so they stop treating us a certain way, we get more of what we look at. So we are in resistant energy, right? It's like for swallowing poison and waiting for it to hurt someone else, right? You know, that sort of thing. So when we try to change someone else, we're the ones swallowing the poison. It's in that moment where you align. You are the cup of water. You work on yourself first. Don't yell at the plant for dying, right? You work on your own water.
Yeah, in these cases, you always go back to yourself, for sure. It's very important. Shall we talk about change? So change, what is for you guys? Because there is change that is, of course, because you want it or because someone else expects it from you. So what is the right way of changing, which is transformation again, because everything changes constantly, which is about transformation. So sometimes people expect a change, but the person doesn't have to change or doesn't want to change. So what is change? Do you want to talk about this together?
It's such a big topic, but before we do it, I just have to highlight what you said, because I'm going to use this a lot. I love when you said accepting, not absorbing energy. That's a very important phrase. Very important.
Yeah. I'm very good at it, I have to say. I can be, for example, when I feel negativity, I can be aggressive with my words, but I'm never negative myself energetically. Never. Mostly because I communicate. Exactly.
Take that right into this concept of change, right? Accepting, not absorbing energy.
Yeah.
And thinking about changing the things that you want in your life. It's always about relationships. Every change is about relationships. And if it's not with somebody else, it's the relationship to yourself. That's no matter what. Any change internally is about your own relationship to yourself and to that behavior, your relationship to the behavior. One of the things I'm doing today in my group, and I did this a few times and I really like the example, is what's it like to experience you? So in your mind, Francesca, if you ask yourself, what is it like to experience myself in myself?
Well, I did so since I am born, so I wouldn't know how to explain it, but
it's
yeah.
an interesting concept in your mind, like, Sandy, what's it like for you to experience you? You know, what do your thoughts do to you? What does your behavior do to you? Some people drive themselves crazy. Some people drive themselves loving. All of the above, everything in between. But what a concept to talk about change and think about. What's it like to experience myself?
Yeah, also a part of change is accepting failure. You cannot expect change to happen if you don't accept failure. I would change the word with pause or stop, because failure, of course, is given by these by the society in the work terms of you don't do this, failure, failed, like you're out. And this is in the work business scenario, but actually failure is something that is stopping you, it's preventing you from danger, or preventing you for something that is not meant for you, or preventing you for something that is not meant to be for you. So I always see failure actually as a sign and as a way of understanding how to step forward or change path. So for me, it's exciting, failure. And I've been so successful in my life just because I never seen failure in my life. So it depends how you see it. And if you give the terms to success in respect of the company you work for, or the society you are into, or the system you are part of to be important, that's when you fail actually for yourself, because you are dependent on a system to be successful. So what is failure? Failure doesn't exist. Failure is just a plus that gives you more and gives you more actually understanding of what you can do and what you can't do, what you can control and what you can't control. So for me, it's very exciting, failure. And that's why we have to try with coaching or with this new role coming up that is very spiritual, to stand for our own persona and not becoming successful because we depend on something. Otherwise, you will never be if you leave that dependency.
Right. I heard you say that we don't define failure based on what somebody else believes failure or success is.
Exactly.
It's just how you feel about yourself. And so your example was using the corporate world telling you whether you're good enough or not, right?
Yeah.
Right. So that's an interesting scenario, because a lot of people come to us for help because they are in the corporate world. They're not leaving. They're not leaving. And it's probably the path of least resistance for them to keep their job in the corporate world. But yet they're told they're not good enough. Somebody else gets to decide their quarterly or whatever report on how they're performing, right? And that weighs heavy on a lot of people's psyche. But it's interesting when we break down what failure means, because I agree with you. Usually what I say is there's no such thing as failure. You're just in the middle, right? An example I give is I spent many years of my life building in my broadcast career, because I've done radio and TV most of my life. And then there was a point where I won an award for having the best show in New York. Huge.
But because you wanted this, exactly. You do it for yourself, for your success, internal success. Doesn't have to be forced.
Wait, the story's only in the middle. I just hit the award, but the story's only in the middle. So that was the year 2000 when I won the award for having the best show in the category that I was in New York. And then I didn't even apply for the award ever again. I didn't care. I was like, oh, I got it. And so then I never won the award ever again. And then I was no longer doing my TV show, no longer doing that radio show. There was a time where I wasn't doing radio at all. I'm doing it again now a little bit. But so was I a failure and then a success? And am I a failure now? Or if I succeeded one time, am I a success for the rest of my life, even though that was 23 years ago? So where in that timeline, where and when was success and was failure? The point is there was never any of it. Or maybe
exactly. Exactly, I totally agree. Yeah, we give definition to everything is wrong.
Yeah, and if you look at the time of my life when I won that highest award, I was in a shit relationship.
Yeah.
Now I'm in a great relationship. So where's the
great question here that we have to read? I have, of course, a different perspective about failure than you do, which we'll talk about in a minute. But listen to this question from Rama. I'd probably said her name wrong. How can you change and you really want to, but your brain is sabotaging you and creating a physical sabotage for you, such as panic attacks and lack of sleep and fear? How can we fight that?
Well,
Great question.
I want to jump on this. That is the best question. That's the main reason everybody comes to us, whether they word it that way, which was so brilliant, or not. Can I give you an example of what I just did with my son this week? Based on that. So, you know, because we've spoken about it a little bit, that we lost our bird. And Petey Bird was the love of my life. This is his little bracelet. I'm wearing it. And so for us, that was the biggest, worst, most traumatic event in the world. I don't know if you've ever lost a person who was really, really close to you, or an animal, but animal lovers know what I'm talking about. It's the worst. And sometimes it's worse than in person if you had to compare, right? It's really because they're your love, biggest love, biggest love. Anyway, so Bodhi, my son, is really, 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 thank you. Really, I'll show you. Here's Petey Bird. There's my baby. Yeah. Yeah. I know. He's so good.
For a second, I thought you were talking about someone. I know, but it's very sad.
No, he's my bird. I also have a tattoo of him right here. So,
and he was also singing and talking. No.
Yeah.
He's everything. Kisses, he would dance. I've got videos of him on my Instagram, like if you go back to older videos. Anyway, so this happened about 2 months ago. Bodhi's just distraught. He came to me and he said, he's 11, almost 12. He said, Mom, can you please get me a therapist? I need help. And I was like, wow, right? So I said, yes, absolutely. And I think it's good for him to have a male therapist, just sort of a different perspective. And he agrees. And I said, but since we have to wait to get that appointment, this is what I do for a living. Do you care at all what I have to say? He's like, not really. And I said, well, but let's try. So he says, A is, he's gone forever. I can never pet him, kiss him, and play with him again. He's gone forever. So nothing you can say or do is ever. That's A. A is, it's lost forever and it's terrible. I said, okay, that is one perspective. You're not wrong. You will never pet him again. Okay. That's one perspective. I said, are you interested if there is another? There isn't. I said, then I can't help you. Okay, fine. Right. This is where they want help, but they can't, you see? So I said, let me give you, so when we look at this, and here's, if you're doing this work for yourself, if you're listening or watching this, ask yourself this: what else is true? Don't try to change the truth. Don't try to color it in. Don't try to put sugar on it. Okay, I can't pet him again. Got it. What else is true? And another thing that's true, I said, I want you to just take something that you can accept easily. And what I offered to him is when he was here, it was really big love, right? You got to experience this really big love. He said, yes, that's true. He said, but you said we had big love. Had means past tense, therefore I'll never say, right? And I said, hang on. Big love, better than big loss. Yes or no? Yes. Okay. So when you look at what else is true, ask yourself this. Okay. So if you're writing this down, number one, ask yourself what else is true. Number two, ask yourself, does this feel better or worse or the same? So it might take a few tries to get to something that feels a little bit better. And we got to something that feels a little bit better. Now do the math, because from there you can sit there for a while, then you get a little better, a little bit. So 1%, 1%, 1%. It doesn't take long till you get feeling a whole lot better permanently. Okay. But we start here, and he kept arguing for his limitations. And so no matter how much I said you had big love, he said, well, that's worse. It would be better if I never felt it. So I said, Bodhi, you keep arguing for your limitations. You have every right to do that. In fact, you're so free, you can choose jail. You are so free. You can choose bondage, right? You can argue for limitations, but when we said B, it felt a little better than A. So we can do C and feel a little bit better than B. We keep them all, they're all true. So I said, here's the exercise I'm going to give you, Bodhi. When you catch yourself thinking A, right? So here's event is front brain. I lost someone. Emotion connected to it is very bad negative emotion. I said, I want you to replace the associated emotion, same event, I lost him, okay, with I had to love. So you start to replace emotionally. Now, these are the two things you do. Number one, you recognize that you're thinking the worst thing, and you say, I'm going to replace that with something a little better. Check in, do I feel a little better, a little worse, or the same? When you find yourself, and here's the last piece of it, because it is a process, and I'm giving you steps. When you find yourself arguing for your limitations, trying to pull back to that first bad emotion, you can say to yourself, I caught it. I caught myself doing that. And that's a win. That's catching it is an achievement. That's a process of getting to it.
Yes. Also, if you cannot exactly, instead of having negative emotions, I believe love never goes away, but we choose, it's a choice to choose our situations, to choose what we want to live. If a situation is too hurting, we don't have to actually, we become aggressive with the person, but then we recognize that is his life, is her life, so we have to let go of the situation, wanting the best for the person and changing situation, because if we fight, exactly, totally.
Now that is specifically love and loss. So I want to put the button on the question is how we want the change, but we're resisting the change. We have to take it in baby steps and don't skip a step. So that is the answer to the question. Take it in the baby steps. What are the baby steps? What else is true? Don't sugarcoat what's true. Leave it there. What else is true? Does it feel a little better, a little worse, or the same? When you've moved the needle toward a little bit better, remind yourself of that as often as you can. These are the steps. These are the steps. And then if you notice you're pulling back, arguing for your limitations, catch it and say, good news, I caught it, and don't try to do anything else about it. That is how we get from I won't change, I'm too resistant, to let's go in and break it down. Glenn, what do you think?
Well,
Totally.
Yeah, all those things, that's great. That's definitely within the onion of change, right? The layers of change. Now, what I hear out of her question, and Rama, you're also welcome to come on and talk with us if you feel comfortable. But sabotaging happens because of one reason. Anytime we make a change, there is a death to our old story. There is a death to our old way of being. You know, anything in our life that we've had has a positive intention, even though it's a negative in our life. There's a reason you have had that in your life. So letting go of that, even if it's the worst thing for you, can feel scary because you've had it all this time. And there is pain, there's tension in growth. You know, life isn't always easy, and some changes are, they require stress, they require that edge that can not feel so comfortable. So it's easier to stay in our comfort zone in the devil we know instead of the miracle that we don't know. And that's one phrase I want you to say to yourself. Why am I ready to stick with the devil I know instead of the miracle I don't in my life? And for many, many people, they will stick with the devil they know. I have in my past. Pretty much everybody I know has. And that's the first awareness.
Can we dive right into that for 1 second? Because to me, it's very close to perfect, but there's a noise that keeps hitting me, pinging me when you say that.
What's the noise?
Where it's easy to grasp is go with the miracle as opposed to the devil, right? That's the easy part to grasp. Like there's a miracle available and I'm choosing the devil, but the miracle shows you there's another option, and the opposite of anxiety is options. So I like the miracle versus the devil, but the way you're phrasing the question, you said, why would I choose the devil over the miracle that's available?
Yeah.
The question why takes people into a rabbit hole. Can we shift that question instead of why would I? Because then that's arguing for your limitations. Well, I choose the devil because, you know, the guy took the thing from me.
Because the devil gives more sensations. It's
like, so it's almost like we're arguing for devil. So I like the devil versus miracle. Perhaps instead of why would I choose the devil? Because people will go into that.
Because people don't live enough, Sandy. Don't live, and so they look for sensations within the hell, basically.
Yes, exactly. So help me right now rephrase the question to something like, you can make it better. Rather than why would I choose devil, maybe ask, is miracle available? Yes. Can I choose miracle? Yes. Do I know how to choose miracle? Maybe, maybe not. Is it possible that I can learn? And just start asking questions toward miracle as opposed to being your own devil's advocate.
Well,
Instead of why, I'd rather look at reasons to go forward.
Also, yeah, we can let go of anger in many ways, even just by writing, talking directly to the person. And then if the person gets it personal, it means he cannot deal with anger or he cannot deal with a problem. So it's always better, instead of taking action that is an action that is bad and that has many other consequences, because action is energy, words, they stay there and you can actually read them again all over again, and then it can give you the truth about the actual problem. So people taking drugs instead of communicating anger, people suiciding instead of communicating anger to
They're
their
choosing
parents.
devil over
So
miracle.
anger is totally normal, because we are all hurt in our life. We are all losing our jobs at some point. We are all losing people we love, because this is life. So if you keep the anger and it is transformed into action, bad action towards someone else, bad action toward yourself, action don't go away, have a repercussion that lasts so much more than actual words. Words, they fly at the end, or they're written and they stay and you read them again and you know what's the problem. Action, they never go away.
So Glenn, how would you take what you said? Do you like it as it is, or does it have possibility of evolving?
I understand exactly what you're saying. I think my why means something different than your why.
Okay.
And the definition of what it is, because to me, why is an action. It is, all right, what is underneath me fighting for this limitation? What is this comfort that I'm accepting that is keeping my life small and keeping me from experiencing my higher self? So what is the fear? What is the, what that the presupposition of NLP, what is the positive intention underneath me holding on to this fear?
Okay, so
what
you're asking,
looking for perfection, which is destroying at the same time.
Say it again, French.
Looking for perfection.
Not perfection, looking for, well, maybe in your definition,
secondary
looking
benefit.
for the reason. What is the reason? What's the positive intention under me choosing
That's
continue?
That's the better question.
That's
not why.
My why.
Yeah,
that's what I mean by why.
But why can mean so. So
yeah.
What is my positive intent? What is my secondary benefit? There's a good reason I chose devil. There's a great reason I chose it. I want to know what the great reason is, and now I want to get that great reason through doing something. So why is too nebulous and loaded. What was the good reason I did this in the first place? What's the good reason I did the drugs in the first place? Because I know that I deserve to feel better. That's good. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
And then from there. So good. That's good.
Yeah. What's the intention that would cause me to choose jail when I'm so free to choose many other things?
Right.
And that is a great analogy. I'm going to use that today in my group, because so many people are so free, we don't see it. And we would choose jail, and we often do. We choose jail in relationships. We choose jail with alcohol. We choose jail with drugs. We choose jail with a job that, for many people, can suck the very life out of us. We choose jail by getting ourselves into debt, buying things we don't need with money we don't have because some commercial says it's going to make us feel better. We choose jail in so many ways.
Yeah.
When there's another.
And somebody's writing about. Somebody's writing about.
I don't like victims at all.
No.
Zero.
No, I don't like victims either. Somebody wrote about perfection, and perfection, very simply, is these 4 words are all the same thing. Whether you like it or not, whether you can relate to any of them or not, they're all exactly the same thing. Procrastination, which is a form of freeze mode, fight, flight, and freeze. You know how, can you see that? Procrastination means I'm stuck, so that's freeze. So that's
but it's a choice.
Right? It's a lot of fight.
It's a mental block.
It's freeze mode. It's defense mechanism. Okay, so procrastination is defense mechanism. I'm stuck. Do you get that avoidance is the same thing as procrastination?
Yeah, just because
Okay.
we love to be
Right.
direct friends.
Right.
Procrastination
We avoid
is,
these
yeah,
things.
right.
Yep. We avoid the healing. We avoid the conversation, right? Because it's a defense mechanism. If I go into that conversation, I could get hurt. Therefore, it's safer to avoid. So procrastination and avoidance are the same thing. Here's another one that's all the same. Perfectionism. Now, one of you guys, because you're both smart, tell me, how is perfectionism avoidance?
Well, perfectionism is a truly destructive force that I've always seen in my mom and not in my father. And I believe perfection doesn't really exist because it is a way of, creating fears within yourself. It's nothing else. Because what is perfection? Perfection is a birth. Perfection is nature. Perfection is the imperfection of beauty. Perfection is what is not obvious. Perfection is what you don't see. This is perfection to me. It's not what
defense
is
mechanism, right? It's a defense. So how is perfectionism avoiding, Glenn? How is perfectionism avoiding?
I was just thinking about what Francesca was saying. In the
I
things
hate
that
perfection. It's so boring. My goodness.
No, I see it as it's an avoidance. It's
Yeah.
If I can't get it right, I can't get it done.
It's an idea. It's an idea.
Yeah,
it's an
right.
avoidance technique, which is a defense mechanism.
Right,
Jackie's procrastination.
Yeah.
You're studying boring shit in college, and yes, that's why you're procrastinating, because it's boring. And
Right.
half the stuff you are going to study, you are never going to use in your life, because the board of educators said you need to know this in order to do this. That's
Exactly.
why. And
Yeah.
it's perfectly normal for you to procrastinate
Yes.
on schoolwork. Half of it's meaningless. So
And
therefore,
perfectionism, yeah. Okay.
play a game with yourself. Give yourself rewards for doing some of the boring crap that will never ever benefit you again when it's done. That's it. Make a treat for yourself.
Yeah.
And it does
Yes.
benefit you now because you use it as a stepping stone. You're using it to get where you want to go. So when you get something out of it, now it's not a waste of time. You're just looking, rather than looking for the reward of loving the subject, you're looking for the reward of getting to the next step. You win.
It reminds me
Yes.
of a funny story. I'll share a really quick funny story about procrastination. There was a time in high school I decided to stop doing homework. I just didn't feel like doing it anymore, so I stopped. I did. And my mom was not very happy when she found out about this. And this is one thing my mom did. It made me so mad, but it was so brilliant. The one person in my life that was my hero was my guitar teacher. So she, without me knowing, spoke to my guitar teacher. And I showed up for my lesson. His name was Jeff. And he goes, "Glenn, put the guitar down." I'm like, "Okay, what's up?" He goes, "What's going on with you in school?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "I hear you're not doing your homework anymore, huh?" Then I'm, uh-oh. Then he goes, and here's why I thought I was going to win. He goes, "Glenn, school's a game." And I'm like, yes, he understands me. But then he goes, "Glenn, it's your game, and it's a game you have to play.
Yeah.
So if you do not play that game, you don't get to come here anymore."
Exactly.
Yeah, but you
That
need to
night
be
I went home.
attracted to the game. Otherwise, we could play any game just for the sake of it. You choose your game. You choose
Well,
also.
we don't, though. When it comes to school, there
That's
are rules.
why I was a rebel, Glenn.
I know.
I can't follow. For me, either I'm attracted to it or I can't, really. Because a game is a game. A game is about your talents, your intuition, your energy. How can you play a game you don't like, even as a child? Let's put this example. Never play.
But part of, we don't have a choice, because basic education is what we have to do. Advanced education, we have
It depends,
to do.
Glenn. It depends.
Well, for most of us,
Oh, no,
it's a
you
game
can-
we have to play.
And it's
Yeah.
no
I did my homework.
different than making it your own game when you go into a job interview. You can go in with the mindset of they're interviewing me, or you can go in with the mindset of I'm interviewing them. And that shifts the entire conversation based on mindset. So if we bring this conversation back to the definition of failure, if it's okay with you guys, I would love to share with you a conversation I had this week with a client.
Mm-hmm.
She's in her 50s, very successful in a very professional white collar field, children, husband, house, perfect in every way, and completely unfulfilled, not satisfied and constantly feeling like she's a failure, and in her own way has examples of it that are constant in her life, where she sees herself as a failure despite all of what somebody else might look and say your life is a success. So
this is pure problems of the parents, I'm sure.
Okay, so we can blame her parents, but now still here we are. Right? So let's just say you're right. It's her parents' fault, but here we are.
Yeah.
She believes that she's a failure. So I said to her, you know, you're trying to accomplish these things. They're not happening the way you want, as fast as you want. It doesn't look like you thought it would, etc. I said, when you have accomplished these things, then what? And she's like, well, then I'll be a success. And I said, right, because success is the opposite of failure, right? I said, let me ask you something. What happens when you die? And she said, well, I'm an atheist, so nothing. I said, so then none of this should matter.
Exactly. I like it.
Right? And so she laughed and she said, yeah, but it still matters, doesn't it? I said, okay, but just look at, that's where you're headed. That's where you're headed for sure. So now let's look again. When you are on the other side of failure, what does your life look like? What changes? She said, well, I still have my same house, my same family. I still have all the things. I'm not looking to buy a bigger house on a bigger mountain and another Lamborghini. I just am not a failure.
What makes me laugh, Sandy, is all these people complaining about failure are failing every day because they think of failure. So this guy, for example, fear of failure, you're actually failing now. I'm sorry.
Yes, that's exactly where the conversation went. So what we came to, because you can probably figure it out at this point, is her definition of opposite of failure is success is not the bigger house, the bigger car, the better looking husband. Her success is in every moment doing basically the same thing, waking up in the morning, having my coffee, going to my yoga class, etc. But the difference is your mindset is different while you're doing the same things. And if you get that that's her real goal, we can do that right here, right now, in every moment. And it's really what we talked about earlier with making change. Check in. How am I feeling? What would I like to feel? Happy. What am I feeling? Name something less than happy. Okay, what can I say or think right now that just moves in the direction of? Because if you start doing that and making that your habit, there's only one thing we need to work on, and that's your worthiness. Do I deserve to feel a little better right now? Because it's only about thinking a little better right now.
Yeah. And no one can make you feel better. You make better yourself. This is very important also, to expect always someone to give happiness, to bring happiness. Happiness, you build your own happiness. Otherwise, you're a slave of happiness, which is not the case.
Yeah, but that's not always true. You know this too. Connection makes us happy.
Absolutely, but if you're not happy and you're expecting someone to make you happy, exactly. This is not the expectation we should have. That's why having an active life, it's so important not to feel these fears, this failure, this constant failure, because you're active. Passivity makes you feel this way. If you're active, you don't blame anything else because there is always something coming up.
I have a little different take on failure. Sometimes in life, we just fail. And that's just how it is. I have an acceptance over failure. And it doesn't send me down a rabbit hole. It's a mindset. What you said, Sandy, you can do things with a different mindset. My mindset on failure is, sometimes we fail. Sometimes life hurts. Sometimes shit doesn't go our way. And that's okay. To think that everything you do is going to work out the way you want it to is a form of insanity.
Yes.
To think that you want is supposed to work out the way you want it to is a form of insanity. And for me, failure isn't defeat. It's like, okay, this feeling sucks. This didn't go my way. I can sit in this right now. I'm not going to live in it. I'm going to sit in it, accept it, and then figure out my next move.
I think that's what you were saying about what Francesca said earlier, which is I'm not going to swallow that down. I see it, but I'm not swallowing it. How did you? That's funny. It's funny.
Absolutely. Yeah.
How did you say it? What were those?
You said I'll accept it, but I won't absorb it.
absorb it, right?
Yeah.
Because it's
Right.
the energy at the end. And also failure is change. Since the topic today is change and failure, I think the two are deeply connected. We change and we don't feel the failure. The failure is when you sit and you're sad, you get angry, totally fine. Then the day after, you stand for yourself and you get active. Doesn't matter what you do, any good action is gonna bring you something good and with the right intention. Not to, you know, manipulate the truth, but to truly advance instead of getting stuck.
Right. Here's my answer to Jackie. I have an acceptance of not being good at math. I just can't do it, and that's fine with me. It's not like I'll be pursuing that as a job in the future. So then here's the deal. Get an app to do your homework and cheat. Isn't that great? Isn't that great advice?
Oh my
Isn't
God.
that great advice? Just cheat. It doesn't matter anyhow. It's you can see how much I love college, right?
Oh my God. All right. So Fraser, should failure be looked at as a lesson or class? Because the word has such a grand negative emotion. No, nothing in life is to teach you a lesson. I do not subscribe to that at all. Now you can say you only lose if you've lost the lesson, meaning there's always something to be gained out of it. But we don't need to think that there's some God testing us. This is just, it's not true.
Yeah. I don't take that question.
That anything can
I know
be a
what you're
lesson.
saying.
Because for people that don't live enough, Sandy, maybe it's not your case and not Glenn's case, people that don't live truly, everything they live is a lesson for them. The problem is when they repeat the pattern as the lesson is being gained. There are a lot of monks in India and in other places that talk about this, about mistakes, lessons. It is a lesson if you take it as a lesson. Otherwise, you are mentally disturbed and you're actually a masochist that you want to suffer, 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 and then the darkness doesn't go away because you build up this bad energy within yourself, and the more you add, the more you feel it, and the more it doesn't go away. So a bit of cleansing of energy would be necessary.
One thing I do subscribe to in that realm is when you look at the definition of a master is, based on what you just said, a master is someone who's made all the mistakes. I just wouldn't categorize failure, mistakes, getting things wrong as some kind of lesson, because then it's like we're being tested. And by whom? What I would offer is, in every moment of life, without exception, there is always satisfaction available. And the definition of satisfaction is having a desire. Isn't that so much nicer? It's having a desire and moving in the direction of it. Now, let's be clear, not getting the trophy, having a desire and moving. Life force energy is desire, and we're made to be inspired to move. We're made to have desire. But it's only about finding the satisfaction. And when you find satisfaction, failure doesn't exist in that world.
Totally agree, Sandy. Totally.
Thank you.
Yes, the key word.
The word,
Exactly.
if
I
you
love
break
that.
the word down, break the word down, mistake. It's a missed take. When I think about life like a recording studio, if I'm tracking a guitar part in a studio, I'm tracking a take, and I made a missed take. So I take it again. And if I do another mistake, I take it again. It's just a missed take. It doesn't have to have more meaning other than the meaning that you give.
So the issue doesn't come in the mistake. The issue is in your judgment of it. It's your reaction to it.
Yes.
To have opinions is totally normal, and when we stand for ourselves, we're judging, but we're actually exposing our truth. So it depends on the people, how we see it, I believe. I'm judged all the time by my family. Do I feel judged? No. Am I gonna change? No. Does it touch me? Do I become negative? No. Of course I wanna be trusted because it's my family and it's important to me, but doesn't change my positive attitude, doesn't change my beautiful life. So it depends also how we react to judgment, because everyone has an opinion, and we should, because that's how we communicate problems too. And if we feel judged, I believe it's also a problem.
Can I share a story with you about...
Read this comment first, though. This comment's really key to this. What if you are not able to be active because you are stuck with no accepting the change because of the intensity of the sabotage? I'm stuck for almost 2 years with this. Okay. So there's a lot in that. Sandy?
That question is based on a false premise. Read the very first line, the very first beginning of it.
What if you're not able to be reactive
There it is.
because you are.
If you're not able is a false premise. Who said
Yes.
that? Who said that?
Totally. So if you change your words, dear Rama,
Yeah.
you're going to change your life.
But
I would
stop.
say you are able, but you don't know how. So then you ask a question.
Yeah.
Then you
That's
ask a question.
Yeah.
Look at where
That's
do I
hard.
want to go? Where do I want to go? If I can't see myself going there, I would ask the next question. Has anybody gone from someplace like you are to there? Has anybody gone from A to B? Not you, but someone else. Someone in the movie, somebody in a book. Is it possible that it can happen? Okay. So if it's because if you don't even believe it's possible that it can happen, the conversation ends now. But you know it's possible or else you wouldn't be asking because your desire is to make it happen. So it is possible that it can happen. Can women give birth and then not carry weight for the rest of their lives? I believe it's possible.
Yeah. Totally. And also look at your actions, at your work,
Still working
in
on
line with your dreams. Because who is going to dream? It's impossible to have dreams if your actions are not aligned with your dreams. So people dream a lot, but they don't take action toward them. That's because their head is in one place and their heart is somewhere else. So it's important to be aligned first within your heart and mind, because otherwise nothing can be achieved. And not to be negative, but it's true. So if you're thinking negative and then your heart is striving for something that you're not achieving, first build this connection between the mind and the heart, which is the trick for everything. Success, internal success, connections, everything.
When we don't take action, that's procrastination, avoidance, and it's also perfectionism. I can't take action because I'm not able. I'm not perfect enough yet to take action in any way, right? So procrastination, avoidance, perfectionism are all avoiding an emotion. Let me say it again. Procrastination, avoidance, perfectionism, and frustration, which comes from it, are all a shield against criticism and judgment. That's why you're not taking action. You're avoiding an emotion. What's the emotion you're avoiding? Being judged. So you're not moving in your life in case somebody else sees you do it? Really?
It's about judgments. My goodness. Maybe because I'm used to it and I don't care at all, like zero.
But
Yeah. So
thing
the
is-
not taking action is the devil you talk about, Glenn. And the why, what did you get out of not taking action? I felt safe from nobody judging me. And when you look at how ridiculous that is, you'll just go ahead and take action. And whether somebody judges you or not, you just continue to take the action.
Yeah.
So, Rob, without knowing what your specific issue is, it's hard to guide you further. But what I will say is this. It does take courage to change. And it isn't something you have to do alone. That's a lie we tell ourselves. We can do it with a therapist. We can do it with hypnotherapy. We can do it in the HypnoVault. You can go to a bookstore and find a book that somebody has written on the very issue you're struggling with, and use that to transform your mindset and work through it. And
I also believe that if you want it, it happens and you can be guided. It's like quitting cigarettes. If you don't want it, it doesn't happen. That's for
well,
sure.
we all need help, though.
We need help, but
we need
it comes from...
people to help us see things that we don't see within ourselves. We need other people to point out where we're kind of missing the mark, where we are blocked, where we are. That's the very nature of what we do. That is what we built our lives upon, helping people that can't quite see this issue clearly for themselves. And when we realize it doesn't take, there's no strength in doing something alone. There's no strength in not reaching out and saying, I don't know how to do this. It takes courage and strength to say, I do not know how to move forward. I need some guidance. That's strength.
And the
And when you
guidance, that's my alarm saying I got to go in a sec because I've got a client. The guidance is the specific question we're all talking about today. Everybody wants to feel better. Most of the time when we offer guidance, they can't hear it. So how do we as professionals, or if you're doing it for yourself, choose words, language, communication to open up for it to be received? And so Rama said, I'm really trying every day. Wherever I try, I get physical pain, panic attacks, so my energy gets back to zero and zero motivation. What you're talking about is resistance. If you're going back to pain and zero motivation, it's because you're doing a push-pull. You've got your foot on the gas and the brake at the same time. You're avoiding the whether it's embarrassment or judgment in moving forward. So my suggestion is to you, first deal with the physical pain and do that by breathing. breathe into the area that hurts. Ask yourself, what number is my pain now? Okay, my pain's at an 8. Breathe, breathe, breathe. See colors, see crystals, breathe. Do a meditation, do a hypnosis, breathe. And then check in. Do I feel a little better, a little worse, or the same? When the needle has moved to a little bit better on your physical pain, then you have evidence that if it moved a little, it can move a little more and a little more. So you know that the physical pain is not permanent. So just go for moving in the direction of better, and then look at what is it that I want. And then baby steps. What is true? What are my options? Because options are the opposite of anxiety. So when you say you're trying, it means you've tried options. So try looking at what is a possible new option. Let me breathe, and what else is true. And Francesca said it so beautifully. When you really desire it, impulses occur to you. They just do. The thing that's getting the blocking the impulses is your resistance.
Yeah.
Breathing will remove that resistance, and your impulses will occur.
Yeah.
That's a great place to start. Absolutely. That's the start of your journey. And feel free to join us if you want to share next time a little more, or we can dive into it a little more. It's always hard to, without knowing the specifics, being able to give you the specific steps and ways to look at it when we don't really know what it is you're kind of holding on to.
You can do hypnosis for pain. Glenn, you have pain, I'm assuming pain hypnosis in your HypnoVault, you have stuff for pain?
Yeah. Okay,
so let me give you this. All right, so get the HypnoVault from Glenn, and I'm going to give you the statistic, and then I got to run because I have somebody at my door. 75% of the pain that we humans feel is above what any animal ever feels. Let me say it differently. Humans feel 75% more pain than animals based on how we think, because it's what the pain can mean. It's what we make it mean. So with 100% certainty, when people come into my office to deal with physical pain, I don't give them that statistic when they start. I ask them, what level of pain are you at? 8, 9, 10, they say. And then when it's all over, I ask them, and it's always 75 to 100% better by the time they leave an hour later. Always.
Yeah.
Beautiful point.
Can resistance identify as ego as well? It depends. I don't like the analogy of ego. A lot of teachers love it. All right, Sandy, we'll see you soon. I love you.
See you next week, Sandy. Love you too.
Yeah. All right, we'll go for another minute or two. Then I have my group 2 at 10:30. But this. A lot of teachers use the term ego as, it's just your ego doing this. It's yourself versus your ego, and I feel like that puts people at war with themselves, thinking you have this ego inside out to get you versus your other perspective. That's just how I take it. I don't know if you agree with that.
I totally agree, Glenn. And this is the switch. It is this exact struggle that brings you into the next step. There is no change within, as you said before, also with no struggle, with no conflict, with no chaos. The most important is how we deal with it, how we communicate what's happening, also to ourselves. If we give illusions to others, we give illusions to ourselves. So we have to also switch our mind from an illusional point to the truth, because the truth and communication clear every problem. And there is no problem at all if there is communication and
that communication within yourself. And it is, there's I always break things down really simple. There's empowering thoughts and there's disempowering thoughts we have. There's positive thoughts, there's negative thoughts, positive emotions, but really empowering thoughts versus disempowering thoughts.
Yeah.
And to communicate from that point of view is really helpful. Time zone for me is Pacific Standard Time. Jackie loves your red shirt too. Francesca.
It's also very important, Glenino, to have evolution in life, to be with people that challenge us in a good way, with peace, not looking for a reaction, because change is already full of commitment and energy to be given. Plus, you are surrounded by people that are looking for reactions from you instead of actually supporting your energy, which is a line and is totally different. That's when there is growth. Otherwise, there is a downside, there is suffering, there is miscommunication and all this, and we cannot blame people because they grew up like this. So that shift must happen.
All right, well, let's wrap this up. Another week, and we'll see what happens between now and next Thursday.
Yes, I will tell you these adventures.
I just drank some of this tea I have is not very pleasant. And when
why?
Why? I know it's from the Ayurvedic doctor. It's really good for you. It's for cleansing of your arteries. It's for cleansing of your blood. It's full of 8 different types of dirt, is what I think it is. But so it's a little harsh.
The flavor must be terrible. You can imagine.
But it's good. It's amazing for healing. I'm doing it. Not everything's got to taste good, you know.
I know. Mostly healthy stuff. What can we do? Yeah.
So good to see you, my dear. I will see you very soon.
Yeah. Glenino, and good luck with your amazing vault. Let's update each other every time during a live so people know if they want to join what it's about, always.
Absolutely. All right. We'll see you in a week. Thanks for joining, everybody.
Ciao, Glenino. Baci.